My name is Chloe. I'm 27. People say the 3-year mark in a marriage is when the real work starts. I think it's more like when the punchline to a very long, very unfunny joke finally lands. And well, I was the one who told it. It started on a Friday night. The kind of Friday that holds a promise in the air, thick and sweet like gardenias after a rainstorm. I'd spent almost 2 hours getting ready. Not for him. For me. For the girls. There was a new dress. Black silk that slid over my skin like cool water. Makeup that took 45 minutes to perfect. All sharp eyeliner and a bold, unapologetic red lip. My hair, which usually lived in a messy bun, was a cascade of soft curls. The works. I felt electric. Like a version of myself I hadn't seen in a while. The version that existed before shared bills and arguments about whose turn it was to take out the recycling. When I walked into our living room, the scent of sawdust and wood varnish hit me first. It always did. It clung to the furniture, the curtains, him. Finn was hunched over his makeshift workbench in the corner, a pencil tucked behind his ear, sketching the intricate headstock of a custom guitar. He was a luthier, a guitar maker, or, as my friends' husbands in finance and law would call it, a hobbyist. He looked up when I entered, and his pencil stilled. His eyebrows shot up, his blue eyes widening for just a second. "Wow," he said, his voice a little rough. "You look really dressed up." For just Mia and Sophie, I did a slow turn, letting the silk of the dress whisper against my legs. I felt a spark of satisfaction at his surprise. "Thanks," I purred. Felt like making an effort for once. It's been a while. And that's when the look on his face shifted. The initial surprise curdled into something else. Something I couldn't quite place. Resentment? Hurt? "You never dress up like that when we go out," he said, his voice flat. I rolled my eyes. It was an automatic, well-practiced reflex. Because we go to the same 3 pizza joints, and you're always in a rush to get back to your projects. The word hung there. Dismissive. I didn't mean for it to be. Not really. But it came out that way anyway. In my head, I was already scrolling through Mia's Instagram feed from last week. A candlelit dinner in a high-rise restaurant, a bottle of champagne, a caption about being the luckiest girl in the world. Our date nights felt pathetic in comparison. Finn stood up, wiping sawdust from his jeans. He crossed his arms over his chest, a defensive wall. "So, all this effort is for your friends, but not for me." This was the moment. The moment a normal, well-adjusted wife would have said something reassuring. Something like, "Don't be silly. I just needed a confidence boost." But the champagne I'd sipped while doing my makeup had loosened my tongue and sharpened my edges. I laughed. A bright, brittle sound. "Well, you never know," I joked, flipping my hair over my shoulder. "Maybe I'll meet someone better tonight." Silence. It dropped between us, heavy and suffocating. The playfulness in his expression vanished. It was like watching a light being switched off, leaving only shadows. He didn't yell. He didn't even raise his voice. He just looked at me, and his eyes were cold. Colder than I'd ever seen them. "That's not funny, Chloe," I scoffed, grabbing my purse from the counter. The buzz I'd been feeling was starting to evaporate, replaced by a prickly annoyance. "Oh my God, it was a joke. Lighten up. When did you get so sensitive?" "Was it a joke, though?" he asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Because lately, it feels like you're always looking for reasons to be disappointed in me. Now you're just being dramatic," I snapped, glancing at my phone. "I have to go. The girls are waiting." He didn't say goodbye, and I didn't look back. I figured he was just in one of his moods. He'd cool off. He always did. The cocktail bar was exactly the kind of place I'd needed. Dim lighting, overpriced drinks with things like hibiscus foam and smoked rosemary, and a clientele that looked like they'd all stepped out of a magazine. Mia was already there, waving from a plush velvet booth, her new designer bag a birthday gift from her husband sitting proudly on the table. "Oh my God, you look incredible," she squealed as I slid in beside her. Her eyes did a quick, professional scan of my outfit, from my shoes to my earrings. The unspoken assessment? I was used to it. "Thanks," I said, ordering a martini. "I needed this. Finn's been weird lately." The night unfolded in a haze of gossip and gin. We complained about our husbands, our jobs, our lives. It was our ritual. But tonight, my complaints felt sharper, more real. When Sophie arrived, she was venting about her husband, Mark, being clingy. Honestly, Finn was the same about me dressing up. I said, rolling my eyes again. What, we can't look nice without it being for some guy? But the truth was, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the way a man at the bar, handsome in a tailored suit, let his gaze linger on me a little too long. I didn't exactly look away. I would never cheat on Finn. Of course not. But a little harmless validation? A reminder that I was still desirable? There was nothing wrong with that. It felt good. Especially when your husband seemed to prefer the company of wood shavings and power tools to you. At least Mark has a real career, I heard myself say, the words slipping out after my third martini. Finn's still trying to make that guitar thing work. Do you know what Mia's husband got her for her birthday? A trip to Paris. You know what Finn got me? A handmade jewelry box. I let out a bitter laugh. Thanks for the reminder that we can't afford real gifts. I stumbled home around 1 in the morning, my head buzzing pleasantly. The street was quiet, the houses dark. I hummed to myself as I fumbled for my keys, the red of my lipstick slightly smeared. I pushed the key into the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again, thinking the alcohol had made me clumsy. Nothing. It wouldn't go in. My pleasant buzz began to curdle into confusion, then a cold dread. I knocked, softly at first. Finn? Then harder. Finn, can you open the door? My key isn't working. Silence. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Hey, I'm outside. Key won't work. And is... No response. That's when I saw it. A small gray box mounted to the wall by the doorframe. The kind real estate agents use. It had never been there before. Taped to it was a folded piece of paper. My hands were shaking as I opened it. A 4-digit code was written inside. I punched the numbers into the lockbox. It clicked open. Inside, sitting alone on the cold metal, was my house key. A new one. He had changed the locks. He had left me a way in, but not without making it painfully, brutally clear that I was no longer welcome. I walked into the dark, silent house. A ghost in my own home. His side of the closet was half empty. On the kitchen counter, a single sheet of paper. Staying at a hotel. We need to talk about what you really want. The silk of my dress felt like a costume. The perfect makeup felt like a mask. And standing there, under the cold kitchen light, I realized the joke wasn't just unfunny. It had been a confession. The first emotion wasn't sadness. It wasn't even fear. It was pure, unadulterated rage. How dare he? How dare he lock me out of my own house? Treat me like a stranger? A criminal? Over a stupid, meaningless joke? He wanted to play games? Fine. Two could play. I didn't call him. I didn't text him pleading to come home. That's what he wanted. He wanted me to grovel. To apologize for his over-the-top, dramatic reaction. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, I stormed into the bathroom, reached behind the ventilation grate, and pulled out my secret stash. $600 in cash. My runaway fund. I'd always jokingly called it. It didn't feel like a joke now. By 10 a.m. Saturday morning, I was at the most expensive spa in the city. I booked the goddess package. Massage, facial, manicure, pedicure. The works. I lay on the heated table, the scent of lavender oil filling the air, and meticulously planned my counterattack. It would be fought not with angry words, but with images. I took a photo of my champagne flute by the bubbling jacuzzi. Some much-needed self-care. I took a selfie in the fluffy white robe, my skin glowing, a serene smile on my face, learning to put myself first. I posted them to my Instagram story, making sure the privacy settings were set to public. His sister followed me. His friends followed me. The message would get back to him. The message was clear. I'm fine. I'm better than fine. I don't need you. While the esthetician applied a cooling mask to my face, I opened my phone again. I had a message request. It was from the man at the bar. His name was Leo. Hope I'm not being too forward, but I couldn't stop thinking about your smile last night. My fingers flew across the screen. Not forward at all. It was a fun night. Fun for you maybe? He replied instantly. I spent the whole time trying to work up the nerve to talk to you. Everyone. The validation was a warm, intoxicating balm on my bruised ego. We messaged back and forth for an hour. I told him a heavily edited version of my fight with Finn. I was the witty, misunderstood wife. Finn was the moody, controlling husband. He sounds like he doesn't appreciate what he has, Leo wrote. A woman like you deserves to be worshipped. I saved the chat. Just in case. That afternoon, floating on a cloud of spa-induced bliss and digital flirtation, I started building my case. If Finn was going to act this crazy, there had to be a reason. A real reason. It couldn't just be my joke. He wasn't that fragile. So, what was it? And then it hit me. Sabrina, the owner of the gallery that sometimes featured Finn's guitars. Sabrina, with her sharp, angular haircut and her wardrobe of all black, architecturally inspired clothing. Sabrina, who always touched Finn's arm when she laughed. Who looked at his work with a reverence I could never muster. I remembered a few months ago, I'd stopped by the workshop to drop off lunch. They were standing close together, heads bent over a piece of polished maple wood. They hadn't noticed me at first. The way they were talking, in their own secret language of tonewoods and fretboards, it wasn't professional. It was intimate. He was having an affair. Of course, it all made sense now. His distance, his defensiveness, his ridiculous overreaction to my joke. He wasn't hurt. He was guilty. He was looking for a reason to push me away, to justify his own betrayal. The anger I felt before was nothing compared to this. This was a cold, hard certainty. I wasn't the villain here. I was the victim. The poor, unsuspecting wife. My phone buzzed on the marble counter beside me. A text from an unknown number. No, it was Finn. From a new number, probably a burner phone. How dramatic. The message was short, clinical. I will be home tomorrow evening. We need to talk. End to. I read it, and a slow, triumphant smile spread across my face. Oh, we would talk. And I was ready. He walked through the door at 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. The house was spotless. I had spent the entire day cleaning obsessively, scrubbing away any trace of him, of us. It was my house now. My territory. I was waiting for him at the kitchen island, arms crossed, a glass of wine in my hand. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes. Good. I hoped he hadn't slept. So, you decided to come back to the scene of the crime? I began, my voice dripping with ice. He put his overnight bag down by the door, not moving any closer. Chloe, I don't want to fight. A little late for that, don't you think? I took a sip of wine, watching him over the rim of the glass. After you threw a childish tantrum and locked me out of my own home, he sighed, running a hand through his already messy hair. It wasn't about the joke, he said, his voice weary. Oh, I know, I shot back. I know exactly what it was about. He looked at me, confused. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, Finn. It doesn't suit you. Before I could launch into my well-rehearsed tirade about Sabrina, he cut me off. Mark told me, he said quietly. My blood ran cold. Mark? Sophie's Mark? Told you what? Everything, Chloe. He finally looked at me, and his eyes weren't cold anymore. They were just empty. He told me what you say about me at your girls' nights, about my fake career, about how I'm not good enough, about how I can't give you the things their husbands can. The air left my lungs. For a split second, I was caught, exposed. But then, instinct took over. The best defense is a good offense. I let out a harsh, disbelieving laugh. You're pathetic. You're actually listening to drunken gossip? You'll believe that, but you won't believe your own wife? This is just a distraction, isn't it? A way to shift the blame. Shift the blame from what? He asked, genuinely bewildered. From her? I shrieked, the name finally exploding out of me. Sabrina, do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I haven't seen the way you two are with each other? The little inside jokes? The way she touches you? You weren't mad about my joke. You were feeling guilty. You were looking for an excuse to start a fight, to make me the bad guy so you could run off to her. I watched his face, waiting for the flicker of guilt, the denial that was too quick, the telltale signs of a liar. But there was nothing. Only a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. He looked at me as if he were seeing me for the first time, and he didn't like what he saw. You really believe that, he said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, a diagnosis. You would rather believe I'm a monster than accept that you could possibly have said something hurtful. He shook his head slowly, a sad, defeated gesture. I can't do this anymore, Chloe. Do what? I demanded. Have a normal conversation? No, he said, his voice barely a whisper. This isn't a marriage. It's a courtroom, and I'm always on trial. He picked up his bag. I'm sleeping in the guest room. We can talk more tomorrow. He walked away, leaving me alone in the silent, sterile kitchen. The victory I had anticipated felt hollow. His weariness was a more formidable shield than any angry defense would have been. He hadn't fought back. He had just given up. And that, more than anything, terrified me. But I pushed the fear down. He was manipulating me. Gaslighting me? That had to be it. I pulled out my phone and sent a text to Leo. He's even worse than I thought. The reply came back in seconds. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve that. Can I see you tomorrow? I typed back my answer without a moment's hesitation. Yes. The next morning, the house was silent. The door to the guest room was closed. I waited until I heard his truck pull out of the driveway before I made my move. I felt a tremor of guilt. As I walked into his office, the small spare room he had converted. It was his sanctuary. But the guilt was quickly extinguished by a hot flame of righteousness. I wasn't a snoop. I was an investigator. I was a wife searching for the truth. His laptop was on the desk, closed. He'd never given me the password. He didn't need to. I knew his mother's birthday. It opened on the first try. I went straight for his emails. My heart hammered against my ribs as I scanned the inbox. Bills, newsletters, spam, and then I saw it. A thread with the subject line, offer of position, Westbrook Gallery. Westbrook Gallery, in Seattle. My hands trembled as I clicked it open. There were dozens of emails, going back 3 months. They had been courting him, headhunting him. An offer for a position as their lead luthier and artisan in residence. They called his work visionary. They offered him a salary that made my eyes water. A relocation package, a state-of-the-art workshop. He had been planning an entire new life. A life without me. He had sent them a portfolio of his work guitars so beautiful they looked like sculptures, pieces I had dismissed as clutter, pieces I'd never even seen before. He had been hiding his ambition, his success, from me. The betrayal was a physical blow. I felt sick. Then I opened his messages. I scrolled until I found her name. Sabrina. There was nothing overtly incriminating. No declarations of love, no explicit plans. But it was worse. Somehow. It was the easy intimacy. The shared language that I could never understand. Saw this piece of Brazilian rosewood and thought of your new project, she wrote, with a link attached. You get me, he'd replied. They shared articles about design, photos of vintage instruments, inside jokes about difficult clients. She understood his passion. She nurtured it. She saw the artist in him, while I had only seen the man who left sawdust on the carpet. This was it. The proof. It wasn't a physical affair. It was an emotional one. He had given her the part of himself he had long since walled off from me. I slammed the laptop shut. Tears of rage and self-pity streamed down my face. I wasn't just a victim. I was a fool. I grabbed my phone and called in sick to work. Then I messaged Leo. Meet me for lunch? The cafe on Elm Street. 1 hour. Any 5. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table. He stood up when he saw me, his expression full of concern. Chloe, are you okay? I collapsed into the chair opposite him, and the whole story came tumbling out. The edited version, of course. The version where I was the devoted wife and Finn was the secretive, cheating husband planning to abandon me. He's moving to Seattle, I choked out. He's been planning it for months behind my back. With her? Ever. Leo listened patiently, nodding in all the right places. He reached across the table and took my hand. His was warm and strong. He's an idiot, he said softly. A complete and utter idiot. To have someone like you and not see what he's got. He squeezed my hand. You deserve so much better. I looked at him. His kind, handsome face. His eyes full of sympathy. He saw me. He understood. He wasn't complicated and moody like Finn. He was simple, adoring. We left the cafe and walked through the park across the street. The autumn air was crisp. When we stopped under the shade of a large oak tree, he turned to me. I shouldn't say this, he said, his voice low. Say it, I whispered. He gently cupped my face, his thumb stroking my cheek. I can't stop thinking about you. And then he kissed me. It wasn't a passionate, earth-shattering kiss. It was quiet and gentle and sad. But in that moment, it felt like revenge. It felt like justice. It felt like I was finally taking something for myself. When I got home that evening, the house was still empty. I felt no guilt, only a cold, hard resolve. I had my proof, and now I had my secret. The scales were finally balanced. When Finn came home, he found me exactly where he'd left me the night before, at the kitchen island. But this time, his open laptop was sitting in front of me, the incriminating emails displayed on the screen. His face went pale. You went through my computer, His voice was quiet, but it held a new edge, a dangerous one. You've been hiding things from me, I countered, my voice shaking with practiced fury. Seattle. Sabrina, were you ever going to tell me? Or were you just planning on disappearing one day and leaving a note? I was trying to tell you, he said, his voice strained. That's what this whole fight was supposed to be about. I was trying to figure out if we even had a we to tell. Oh, spare me the noble act. You've been emotionally cheating on me for months. With who? Sabrina? He actually laughed, a humorless broken sound. She's a colleague, Chloe. She's married. She respects my work. Is that so threatening to you? That someone actually sees value in what I do? She gets the real you, I sobbed, the tears coming easily now. The passionate, ambitious you, I just get the leftovers. The moody husband who's too tired to even talk to me. You don't want the real me, he finally snapped, his composure breaking. His voice echoed in the sterile kitchen. You've made that perfectly clear. You want someone who makes 6 figures in a corner office. You want a husband you can brag about to your friends, not one you have to make excuses for. That's not me, Chloe, and I'm done trying to be. A took a deep, shuddering breath, composing himself. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet and final. I'm taking the job in Seattle, he said. I signed the contract today. The world tilted. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. It was real. It was happening. What? I whispered. Without even talking to me? We're married. Are we? He asked, his gaze piercing. Because it feels like we've just been roommates for the last year. Roommates who resent each other. So that's it? You're just throwing away 5 years? 3 years of marriage? I'm not the one who threw it away. I stared at him, my mind racing. I couldn't let him win. I couldn't let him just walk away and leave me with nothing. What about me? My voice was small. What am I supposed to do? He looked at me for a long time, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a flicker of the man I used to know, the man who loved me. That's your decision, he said, his voice softening slightly. My heart leaped. A second chance. I don't want to go to Seattle, he continued, and have you resent me every single day for taking you away from your life here, forcing you to live off my hobby. He used my own words against me, and they stung. I can't do it, Chloe. So this is the choice. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. You can come with me. And we try. We really, truly try to start over. No more comparisons, no more little digs. You support what I do, and I support you. We become partners again. Emerson. He looked down at his hands. Or you can stay here. And we end this. The choice hung in the air between us, shimmering and terrible. Go with him? To a new city where I knew no one? Uproot my entire life for his dream? The dream I had openly mocked for years? It would be an admission of defeat. It would mean that he was right, that I was the problem. Stay here? And be the wife who was left behind? A failure? I thought of Leo's easy compliments. My new promotion at work. My friends. My life. I looked at Finn, at his tired face, at the chasm that had opened up between us. How could we possibly cross it? My silence was the only answer he needed. He nodded once, a gesture of grim acceptance. I thought so, he whispered. He didn't yell. He didn't slam the door. He just turned, picked up the bag he hadn't even unpacked from the guest room, and walked out of the house. I listened to the sound of his truck starting, the engine rumbling to life. I listened as it drove down the street. I listened until the only sound left was the frantic, panicked beating of my own heart in the empty, silent house. A year passed. On the surface, my life was perfect. I got the promotion Finn's departure had ironically given me the focus to pursue. I moved out of our sad little house and into a sleek, minimalist apartment downtown with a view of the city skyline. I bought all new furniture, clean lines, neutral colors, nothing crafted by hand, nothing with a story. My Instagram was a carefully curated gallery of success, rooftop cocktails, business class flights, new outfits, a life that screamed, I am thriving. But the pictures were a lie. The beautiful apartment was silent, echoing. The friends I had complained with, the ones whose husbands I'd envied, they slowly drifted away. I was no longer part of a couple, and couple friends, I learned, have little time for a single, bitter divorcee. Dinners became awkward. I was a loose end. The job was just a job. A series of endless meetings, meaningless reports, and a salary that felt like compensation for the emptiness, not a reward for my talent. Leo had fizzled out after a few months. The thrill of the forbidden was gone, and what was left was nothing. We had nothing in common except our shared contempt for my ex-husband. Once that was gone, so was he. I had everything I thought I wanted, and I was completely, utterly alone. One Tuesday night, I was scrolling mindlessly through my phone, a glass of wine in my hand, when a promoted post caught my eye. It was from a major design magazine. The headline read, "The Soul of Sound: How Luthier Finn O'Connell is Revolutionizing Modern Craftsmanship." The photo was of him. He was in a bright, airy workshop, sunlight streaming through massive windows. He was smiling. A real, genuine smile I hadn't seen in years. He looked happy, healthy. He'd cut his hair shorter, and a neat beard framed his jaw. He looked confident, successful. I clicked through the article. It detailed his incredible success at Westbrook Gallery in Seattle, a sold-out solo show, a waiting list that was 2 years long, collaborations with famous musicians, and then I saw the other photos, him at a gallery opening, a glass of champagne in his hand, and standing next to him, her hand resting comfortably in the small of his back, was Sabrina. She was looking up at him, not as a colleague, but as a wife. The admiration in her eyes was so potent it felt like I could feel it through the screen. It was the same look I used to give him, a lifetime ago, before I started taking him, and his talent, for granted. The caption on the final photo confirmed it. O'Connell with his wife and gallery partner, Sabrina Walsh. They were married. I closed the app, my hand shaking. I looked around my perfect, sterile apartment. My life felt like a showroom. All surface, no substance. I had spent years criticizing him for not being enough, while he had been quietly becoming more than I could have ever imagined. 2 weeks later, a small, flat package arrived at my door. No return address, but I knew. Inside, wrapped in simple brown paper, was a small, exquisitely crafted wooden box. It was made of the same polished maple wood I'd seen him and Sabrina admiring in his workshop that day. On the lid, my initial, C, was inlaid in a darker, contrasting wood. There was no note. There didn't need to be. It was one last gift. A final piece of his art. A final piece of him. I placed it on my nightstand. It's still there. It's a daily reminder. A reminder of what happens when you're so busy looking over your shoulder for something better that you fail to see the masterpiece right in front of you. I look at it, and then I look at my reflection in the mirror. A successful woman. A beautiful apartment. A life anyone would envy from the outside. I got everything I thought I wanted. I just had to destroy the only thing that ever truly mattered to get it. The joke, in the end, was on me. He did meet someone better. And I, in my desperate search for a better man, had only succeeded in revealing that I was the one who was never good enough. I pushed him. I see that now. I pushed him right into her arms, right into the life he was always meant to have. And I am left here, in the silence, with nothing but my regret, and a small wooden box that holds more love and care than anything else in my carefully curated, perfectly empty life.